John Bradford, let's get this puppy started. I got that from his website.
Yep. There
So,
you go.
John, thank you, my friend. I know it's been a long day, and I really appreciate you doing this for us. You know that this is a big deal for me and Bill in the chamber and WSIC. You have been driving all night after working all day.
And
Thank you.
took a vote at 5 o'clock, right?
5 o'clock.
5
we took
o'clock.
A vote
Took a vote in Raleigh and is here.
Raced out to get here.
Thank you, my friend.
You're
we
welcome.
really do
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So people don't know this, but my love affair with John Bradford is not because of politics, although I love him for his politics, you understand. Most people don't realize this, but this is a dude that just absolutely have built and created from scratch. Let me say this again, from scratch. 2 multi-million-dollar businesses, and last time I checked, PetScreening.com is exceptionally successful, and I'm positive that you will be hearing much more of this business in the future. And John started this from nothing. So, John, you're a big deal, dude, and we appreciate you being here, buddy.
Well, hey, thank you for having me on the show. Nice to meet you, Ms. Colin.
Nice to meet you
Yes,
as
ma'am.
well.
I said that right. By the
You
way.
sure did.
I listened.
You
I
be
listened.
Elizabeth.
listening.
You call her Elizabeth.
Okay, Elizabeth.
Okay.
So,
So thank you, John.
yeah,
Thank you for being here.
thanks for having me.
We don't have a lot of time, and we all are ready at the end of a night. But walk me through like the I call it secret sauce. What is it that John does that tends to allow him to start up these businesses and grow them to a multi-million-dollar level that others just haven't done? What is that difference in John?
Well, I've told people many times that I'm definitely an entrepreneur. I mean, I was the kid, selling lemonade, cutting grass, whatever. I mean, I'm a hustler. I'm a scrappy hustler. I always have been. I come from a mom and dad that I love my parents so much. They taught my sister and me the value of hard work, the value of a dollar. But we came from very humble beginnings. I mean, I grew up in a house that's half the size of my current home basement. So, I mean, I just was raised in a way to go after it. So fast forward, I think the secret to my the secret sauce, I guess, to my success is I always lead by example. I never ask others to do things that I wouldn't do. I remember years ago when I had Park Avenue, we would stop on Tuesdays and then Thursdays to stop and clean the office as a team. And I would clean the toilets because I thought that if I didn't want people cleaning the toilets, and you're never too good to clean someone else's toilet. That's a lesson that even I've taught my daughters who were here on the show not too long ago. And so, you get a lot of respect from people when you're willing to do things that perhaps others will turn their nose up. And so I've always immersed myself in everything that I do. And as an entrepreneur, I have competed in inventors contests. I have tried a lot of things, and a lot of things have not worked out because, you have to fail trying, but it's really how you react or how you handle the failure that I think probably defines or maybe separates, I would say, real entrepreneurs from people who say they're entrepreneurial, because it's so easy to throw in the towel when you fail and go back to, say, working for someone else, which is most certainly fully acceptable. A lot of people do that. Those of us that are wired to do our own thing, we just go find a way. And so I have I've tried things that just have not worked, but thank goodness I've tried some things that have worked. And I tell people, if you have an idea, it's only an idea until you do something with it.
Right. It's
And
the implementation
the
of that
execution.
idea that makes the difference.
And put your money where your mouth is, and you got to go for it. And I mean, the number of people that say, "Oh gosh, I had this idea and then I didn't do it, and then I saw someone else doing," I'm like, "Well, if you would have gone for it, maybe that could have been you." So you have to do a lot less talking and a lot more doing, and that's what I've done. And I don't know. I don't know it all. I just know that if I'm going to bet on anybody, I'm going to bet on myself.
John, you may have just answered the question I was going to ask, but as an entrepreneur yourself, what advice would you give for any startup business owner, or maybe that business owner that's struggling? What advice would you give that person?
I think it's incredible to surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. And so I've always tried to bring people into my circle.
You got that covered, Joe.
Excuse me. What'd you say?
Especially
Colin?
tonight, right, Elizabeth?
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, go.
And so I would just tell people, surround yourself with people who are smarter than you, meaning have a network of people you can lean on and bounce things off of. And You know, because you have to have some. If you go to your friends and tell them your ideas, they're probably going to tell you it's a good idea, even if it's a terrible idea, because they don't know how to tell you no, because they're your friends and they're not going to let you down. So you could have a really terrible idea and they're going to say, wow, that's an awesome idea, because they don't know how to be honest with you because they're your friends.
I want to go back to another. We recently had a meeting where we talked about what's one thing you wish you could gone back and tell an earlier version of yourself. Charles Knox had said, I wish I would have taken more risks because I thought I wasn't as smart as I was. What is one thing, if you could go back to John Bradford, who just got out of Clemson, just graduated, and you could say, do this, what would you tell him?
Before he answers that, you do understand he was in a mascot suit for 2 years before he got out of college.
Hey, listen, I'm
Just
sitting beside
understand
a Clemson graduate. Okay?
Yes.
There is a lot to be said that I'm sitting beside a Clemson graduate right now.
There's always that one guy. In the
That's
room.
right. That's right.
Yeah. I try not to live a life of regrets. I try to, I've always say that if you finish something and you look back and go, well, would I've done something different? And the answer is no, then you gave it all you had. So I don't, Bill, I would just tell you that I think everything that I've done has probably happened for the right reasons. I don't wish I would have started Park Avenue any sooner, because I had to wait to move to North Carolina to establish what I thought would be the place where I'd raise my family before I got a real estate license. So there were a lot of reasons that I was waiting. I would say, I'll tell you one, I think I would have liked to have been involved in politics sooner. I started at 35. I would have probably preferred to get started in my late 20s as a public servant. It just never crossed my mind.
That surprised me
Yeah.
to hear you say that.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, because now I'm 49 years old, and not that I feel like I'm just getting started, but I don't know. I wonder if I would have started earlier, would I be in a different place? Because politics over the last decade has changed with social media.
Right.
So I think if you were at the party sooner, the trajectory could be different than where you are today, just because of the nature of social devices. And
Right.
so, because because I've won a lot of races and now I've lost 2 races, and so I think I probably would have started politics a little earlier. But I was so focused on, we had a young family. I was trying to provide, in other words, make sure we brought home the money to afford the things we
Right.
needed to do. Because I'm an engineer by degree, so I'm very pragmatic. So I do take risk, but I take calculated risk. There's a difference between going and buying a bunch of scratch-off cards and just trying to think you're going to win. That's not
Right.
that's not really that's not smart risk, right? But I would just say that if I would have started a little earlier, I don't know where my political career could have been differently or been different. So maybe that's something I probably would have done. But here we are. So
But I think saying that is that you are exactly where you're supposed to be because you did exactly what was supposed to be done.
yeah, I subscribe to that
Yeah,
for sure. But,
yeah. So let me ask you this, if you do not mind. I have
Go, baby, go.
I have a question that's very different than all the fellas here. I want to ask you about, you say you have a family and your career. What do you do to stay connected to that part of you? Because being a politician is no joke. It's hard work.
Yeah, it is. Well, one thing I've always done is I'm very lucky in that I don't need a ton of sleep. I'm just one of those folks that can stay up to midnight. I get up early and I'm able to fully function. Not everybody's like that. So I'm able to juggle a lot of balls. And when I go to Raleigh, for example, like I just raced in from Raleigh, I'm typically in Raleigh 4 days a week. And I've been doing this for 8 years. I'm in my 8th year. So, I've missed a lot of things just by nature of being in Raleigh. And that is a sacrifice that my family has just lived to, we've learned it through living it.
Right.
But when I come home, I've always been present. Like I'm not a golfer. It's probably a good thing because I could see the allure to want to go golfing on the weekends. So I don't do that. So I'm present. We camp. I have a camper. My girls ride horses. So I'm spending my weekends going to horse arenas, watching my girls ride, or I'm going camping with my family. So because it was very important to me to make sure that my children and my wife did not suffer because I'm gone. I leave Monday. I come home Thursday nights. I typically am home by dinner time. And then Monday, I have to rinse and repeat and do that again. So I would be home basically Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And those 3 days, if I was like, oh, God, Dad's so tired, I don't want to do anything, in their daily world, weekends are the time to go do something, right? And I couldn't let that be a reason not to do anything. So instead,
Wow.
I just go. And for years, I've heard people say, how do you do it? Like you go
Right.
home and you you get on the road and go camping, and I think a lot of that is my energy level. I was a college mascot. That
Yep.
should tell you everything.
Yeah,
I mean, I do have a
yeah.
lot of energy. I'm not a coffee drinker. I just have natural energy, but it was a will, and I think Miss Colin, a desire to just make sure that my family did not get penalized because of this life that I've chosen to
Wow.
be gone a lot.
Wow.
Now, I'm sure they did. And if you ask my kids that, they'd probably say, "Well, gosh, Dad missed a lot of things." But now, as they're older, they look back and go, "But we also have been able to do a lot of things because
Right.
of what my dad has done."
Yeah,
And
you
that's the
just hit
trade-off.
a very good point. He just basically said it so amazingly is be where your feet, right? Be where your feet.
Yeah.
Where your feet is standing, you be there. Be in the moment. And I think that's worth anything when you learn
Well,
to be where you are instead of standing here in front of me or in front of your kids going, when is my next race? What is the next thing I got to do? Oh, I'm so tired. Let me catch up on it. They saw that you were engaged and in the moment. So be where your feet are, and I love that. That's being present.
yeah, I happen to know a little bit about John's story, and one of the things he does, I think, is so successful. He packs them in his Winnebago,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
take trips,
We do.
and so
That's
it
so awesome.
allows you to be present, and it's an intentional
Yes.
move with the family, and I think that is just. I know you enjoy it,
I would love it.
but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I do believe it really does sort of
Yes.
bring the family back for the weekend. You know what I mean?
That's
So
so awesome.
I really like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's how it
So
does. Though.
so I went to your petscreening.com.
Yes.
Please hear this. Petscreening.com. If you have a pet, go there, get it registered so you can take it on trips with you or whatever, whether it's Airbnb or whatever. And I'll give you some time to talk about that in a minute. But John, I went to the website. There's like 80 people in the company now. I mean, it started off with like 4.
I'll start off with 3. Me, myself, and I. Okay, 3. Me, myself, and I. I remember when so Park Avenue was at right there at Manhattan and Catawba, and we ran out of space at Park Avenue because we were growing. So I went to Ken Ziegler over at KNS Audio. He has the building behind us, and he had a lower unit available for lease, and Park Avenue needed more space. So I leased that space to put some more people because we'd outgrown our building. And one of our monster clients, an institutional investor, started to internalize their management, which meant they were going to take units away, which our job was to like work ourselves out of a job.
Right.
Sometimes that happens. So we didn't really need that space anymore. And I was already paying, rent money on it. So that was the very first pet screening office. And in that office, which was only, 700 square feet, there was a room within the office, and it had a window. And I took that room within the office and I put a curtain on it so I didn't have to look out into the lonely rest of the room because I was in there by myself, literally working on this product, selling this product. And people would come visit me, and they would come into the office where it was dark because I'm too cheap to pay for the electricity with the lights on. So I was in the other room with this curtain over the window, and so they'd scare the heck out of me coming in, but I was in there working. And that was true humble beginnings, because I tend to repurpose things. I've always done that. Use the resources you have.
Right.
But now we have just we're up to 118 people.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
John, we've got about 4 minutes left. I got to ask you one question. It's
Yeah.
political and entrepreneur. FTC came out with a ruling last week.
Non-competes?
Non-competes.
Sure.
How do you think that's going to impact small business and corporate business?
Well, I'm torn on that answer because I have non-competes with some of my executives, and if you look at that ruling closely, there are some exemptions for certain people.
Nonprofits and
Well, and then I think key executives that make 151,000 or more, and no trade secrets and things. But here's the thing: I've been an employer a long time. I want a team of people that want to be there, and I'm the first to say, if you don't want to be here, I want to help you go find something you want to do, because if you're not happy, you're not going to produce the way I would need you to produce. So, and if you're good at what you do, and someone were to leave you and go to your competition or go create another company, what's the saying? It's it may be easy to replicate, but it's hard to emulate. But
Yep.
because,
Yep.
it does still take leadership. It still takes tenacity. It still takes vision. It still takes all these things that I'm not so sure that those folks are going to have. So I'd rather let someone go. I've had people that work for me and then have gone out on their own and started competing property management companies. And but there's so much business to go around, Bill. There's
So-
so much business to go around.
Absolutely.
So you and
It's
I
like-
might agree on that, right?
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you can have a non-solicitation of do the same thing
Yeah.
and protect my clients and that sort of stuff and still
Yeah.
go out. But where we might, and this for another day,
Yeah.
I hate that they made that ruling without going through the proper channels. It rubs me raw that a department can just do that.
Yeah, well, that's definitely. I mean, it does feel. I could see it. Say, well, that's a huge overreach because it was it's a huge decision.
Right.
It's a very monster decision. But in the day and times we live in, I'm not terribly surprised that happened. I would just say that it just makes employers like me continue to keep our pencil sharp, to have
Right.
a great culture, to want to, if you're doing it right, people will want to stay with you.
That's
So
right.
if you treat them right, if you pay them well, if you treat them with respect, chances are they're going to stay, and then you'll have that issue anyway. Now, when it comes to trade secrets, now that is something that's different, because if someone has the keys to the kingdom,
That's
and
correct.
now they can take it somewhere. And that's where that ruling, I think, does have some. I've not studied it completely, so I'm hoping there's some opportunities there to protect, because that's different. We're talking intellectual
That's right.
property, IP.
Intellectual
Right.
property.
That's different.
And my client base that
That's
I
right.
currently have,
Yeah.
that's a whole
Yeah.
different story.
But just holding people hostage in general over a non-compete, I can live with it.
right.
I've always kind of just let people do that anyway, because I'm like, well,
Right.
good luck.
Right.
We've only got a minute. Anything you want to say to the listeners out there? You are by far one of my favorite small
Oh, you're
business
kind.
people, because it's the startup,
Yeah,
man. It's
yeah.
that's what makes you different to me.
Yeah. Well, look, we're having fun, and I would just say anyone can do it. There's nothing special about me. I'm a hustler. I mean, if you're a hustler and you're willing to work, you can go do it. You just got to find something that you love, and I do love what I do. I think that's incredibly important. And then for your listeners, don't go to petscreening.com. Go to Fido Alert. We've created Amber Alert for pets.
Okay.
It's a free service. My company pays for this. We send you a free dog tag, and if you have a cat, it's Tabby Alert. We send you a free cat tag, and it's like Amber Alert for pets. Check it out. Fido Alert, Tabby Alert.
Thanks, my friend.
Yep.
Bill,
Thank you, Joe, for another great small business event.
where your business matters. We'll see you next year.